Welcome to Fargo Talks Fargo, an unofficial podcast on the FX television series. This season of Fargo Talks Fargo is sponsored by Fargo Brewing Company and their tasty and always delicious Wood Chipper IPA. Velvety, smooth, all sorts of those things. Also adjectives that describe my good friend Charpie. Charpie, how are you today?
Hey now, I'm doing quite well. A little bit of a cold, but it's not going to slow me down.
Oh, dang. I kind of feel the same way. I've got like cold or allergies or something, but I got the remedy right here. Ready? Or we can try to do this simultaneously?
We both got the remedy.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Oh, God.
That was perfect.
Yeah, that was real nice. What are you drinking?
Well, I unfortunately cannot get Fargo Brewing beer where I am in Denver, so I am drinking a local Colorado beer called Oscar Blues Pinner.
Oh. I've gone to something lighter. I'm drinking the Fargo Original Lager today.
That's a great beer.
It is a fantastic beer. But we do thank Fargo Brewing for their support. Go to fargobrewing.com to find out more.
If you're in the region, the Fargo region, tri-state area.
Yeah, tri-state meaning North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, correct?
Yeah. And you are maybe not into craft beers or so-called dark beers, start out with a little Fargo Brewing Original.
Yep.
Because it's a award-winning lager. And it's a
delicious.
Nice, light, crisp taste.
Yeah, it did. Didn't this win a bronze medal at the
Great American Beer Festival? That's right. I was there.
Were you? Every year, probably.
I am there every year. I wasn't at the award ceremony, but it was. I'm not important enough to go to that.
Well, anyway, so here we are, folks. We've had... Oh, Charpie, did you get some of those emails I sent you? I do want to give a shout-out. I don't know if we'll be able to talk about all this, but as usual, thank you so much for all the people who reached out, the commenters on Facebook, and people who sent us Twitter stuff, and as usual, all you guys, I'm just name off a few, Jason and Mark, Ruben, and everybody, but... and we did just quick follow-up, the Season 2 Hotel Motel. I feel like I maybe mentioned this. Not the same thing. Jason cleared that up for us. Said, nope, they're not the same. One's up there in the Alberta, Canada, right?
Yep.
The other one's in Hollywood, L.A. No such luck.
Quite far from each other.
Yeah. And I did see Ruben wrote in another person. He was that whole desk scene was turned around for him as well. Wasn't just you and me.
Yep. I rewatched it, and yeah, that's a well-done scene. We'll get to that.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So I think we should. I think we. Yeah, I'm to this point where I wondered if we almost covered too much in that for what this episode was. I feel. I don't want to call it a disappointment. I just feel like we covered a fair amount of what it was, because I think that when you telegraph that much of what you're trying to say to us, there's not as much to interpret or secrets to uncover, in my opinion.
Sure.
Like, did you see anything like monstrously like, whoa, shit, I missed that on your second time through?
Yeah. I've got a couple little things that I think are interesting. So the title of the show of this episode, Season 3, Episode 4 of FX is Fargo. FX is, that's a weird thing to say. The narrow escape problem.
Yeah, we brought this up a little. Carry on, though.
Yeah, so we brought it up a little bit. It's a little bit over my head, but I think the basic idea is, here's what Wikipedia says. I think we maybe covered this a little bit, but a particle like an ion, molecule, or protein is confined to like a domain. And there is one small window, basically, in that domain that it can get through. So the narrow escape problem is just all about calculating that time and what it would take for that particle to escape that narrow window, right?
Right.
So, as we kick off the show, if you didn't listen to the Hot Dish, basically we're going over the story Peter and the Wolf, which is this like symphonic story where each little character is represented by an instrument in the symphony. So Emmett is the bird, Ray is the duck,
which is the oboe.
Yep.
Let's get So it's bird, flute, Emmett, right?
Yep. Emmett is the bird, which is played by the flute. Ray is the duck, which is the oboe. Mm-hmm. Cy is the grandfather. However, I still disagree with this. Although there can be more than one. There can be more than one grandfather, like there is in the show.
Yep.
Nicky Swango's the cat, which is the clarinet.
Yes.
Oh, the grandfather's the bassoon, by the way.
Yes.
The henchmen, Yuri and Mimo, are the I guess
shotguns.
Yeah, the hunter / shotguns, or the shotguns.
Yep, the sounds.
Yep.
The kettle drums.
And VM Varga is the wolf, played by the French horns, and Gloria is Peter, played by the strings.
Anytime anybody says so and so is the wolf, I'm like, fuck you, it is. It's Harvey Keitel. Don't you forget it.
That's true. Harvey Keitel.
So that's our thing, and our entire scene is set to this. And I made a note on my second watch thinking about Emmett with his tie rack, and I was like, he's a bird, but he's more of a peacock. The way he's his attire, the way he has to dress, and how he puts on a certain amount of air with what he does, and then you just slap that up against the opposite of Ray.
Yeah, right. Well, he's only defined as a bird, so he could certainly be a peacock.
Yeah.
And peacocks can fly, right? Even though it's rarely seen.
They can. Yeah, I believe
sort of
so.
like a turkey.
We'll stick with that. If we don't fact check it, it stays true until somebody emails.
He could be a turkey too.
Mm-hmm. Almost our national bird, by the way.
Almost.
So you were talking about the narrow escape problem, or did you have more you wanted to say about that?
Yeah, we have to somehow relate these characters to the narrow escape problem. Mm-hmm. In the story of Peter and the Wolf, the duck is swallowed by the wolf, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to extrapolate this. I think we could kind of relate it to the narrow escape problem. These characters to the narrow escape problem many times over, and we'll kind of go over that now. We'll figure out what else we can come up with. But if Ray is the duck and the duck gets swallowed by the wolf, but technically in the story the duck doesn't die because he can be heard when the wolf's mouth is open, right?
Because he eats too fast.
He swallowed the duck, Ray, live.
Like a bulimic British person, which we learn VM Varga is, who eats too much too fast.
He basically inhales his food, his English breakfast.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you think that VM Varga the wolf could swallow Ray the duck, and it could be, but duck could still have this slight chance, this slight window of escaping through the mouth of the wolf, being that could be his narrow escape problem, or through his ass? Who knows? Just
I think
depends on what story you want to choose, I guess.
I think it's a lot of those things. I think there's the very obvious one of that. Yes, that's that you've got. If you go with that stuff, right, and you're like, well, VM Varga is this, and that we know what happens to the duck, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's a narrowing problem as we learn more and the plot unfolds, that there's a narrowing problem for everybody, and your chance of escaping that problem becomes less and less, right? So yes, the wolf has his sights on the duck, but we also have to remember that the wolf in this episode also is narrowing everything with Emmett as well by getting him to sign that document. So it's an inescapable thing for him then.
Mm-hmm.
The minute they become partners, that really screws up the possibility for what was mentioned earlier about the widow, whose name escapes me right now. Goldfarb? Is it Goldfar or Farb? Doesn't really matter, I guess.
Doesn't really matter. I thought it was Gold. I heard Goldfarb.
Right, and so there's that escape happening, and on top of that, the narrow escape is the whole this possibility for. I'm holding up my hands like everyone can see me. I do this every season, only you see me, and that same narrowing hole of an escape is also happening for Ray with Gloria, who's Peter, at the same time, right?
Yep.
So everybody has something they're almost escaping. Ray, and on top of that, you've got Cy, who's the window for him to escape this stupid run-in with the wagon is narrowing as well, because we meet this new character, Winnie, who is narrowing down what he's got. So I feel like it applies to everybody. I feel like the obvious thing is that it's this VM Fargo versus Ray thing in the end. But I think the actual reality of the whole thing is that the story is about to. I feel like it's Noah. It's a real slow episode.
Real slow.
It's Noah Hawley just like letting us. It's like watching the beginning of that slow motion car crash scene, and you're just like, no, and like I feel like from here, all the impacts are going to happen, because we've been talking about this all season, haven't we? Or at least for part of the season, with the randomness of things and what's happening. And there's even a part I'll probably get to later. Maybe remind me about this comment I was making when we talk about Zimmerman again and the nature of things. So I think all those things are correct. I just think it applies to more than those people, because even Nikki is being found out. Ray has had a narrow escape problem because he's been given it to his parolee, and he took an oath. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, all of these problems are getting screwed because of this narrow escape problem, in my opinion. Because
I think they're problems. I don't think they're narrow escape problems, really.
No?
I mean, I don't know.
But that's the narrow escape thing I have, is that if you have a window and that window slowly closes within the thing and it's bouncing around, there's only so much time, and as it gets to a certain point, escape becomes impossible, is the point. And I feel like all of these situations are closing down. They're doing this. It's the Indiana Jones thing. Are you going to be able to slide under that door, right? As it's going down, 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 down. And for all of these people in a lot of these situations that they've got themselves kind of fucked with, their ability to get under that door is disappearing.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
We don't have to agree.
Oh, yeah. No. I agree. Yeah, I just think... I don't know. You kind of convinced me a little bit there. I like the narrow escape problem with Emmett and Ray, because obviously Ray's got himself into a pickle by impersonating his brother. Now his brother knows.
Oh God, yeah.
And so so obviously his brother's going to be closing in on Emmett's going to be closing in on Ray somehow, some way,
right?
And now that he's signed on to be a partner with Fargo, he's kind of chosen his side, so that definitely is closing down.
Can we talk about that? Can we talk about him impersonating his brother? I feel it was one of the most it was really enjoyable.
It was enjoyable because you're watching
to watch an actor try to play another actor, a character he's playing. Do you know what I mean?
He has to impersonate himself impersonating
a person,
which is a dialect or a accent or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
That Ewan McGregor admittedly has said in interviews that it was the hardest accent he's ever had to do in a role.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We talk like this shit every day.
Yeah. We woke up like this.
Right. So thinking about this scene though, it's just that switch that went off in him when he decided to say, close down the account after Buck O'Lander did that. Man, did the second time through too, that Buck O'Lander snapping his fingers at Millie. I just was like, God, you just want to punch that guy in the teeth, don't you?
I mean, he is not subtle about it whatsoever, and he's not really good at it.
Oh God,
he looks so uncoordinated, just snapping.
Just an asshat. No, I did. I immediately, having worked at a bank, when he said $10,000, I was like, oh, he's going to trigger an SAR. That's what they're talking about, FYI, for nerds out there who work in banking in the States. It's what's called a suspicious activity report, sort of. That's what can get triggered by pulling out $10,000.
Right.
That's what they're talking about. But yeah, what a jerk. But okay, so here's a random thing that I don't know if it's going to come back up, but I just thought about it because I kept thinking, why do they need this? I still think why do they need the cream soda, right?
To go with the cremains.
Yeah, maybe, but I just thought, oh, they're working in something that he has to touch.
Oh,
because if you think about it,
smart?
yeah. Well, here's the deal. If they've got video of him, how could they prove that it's not him if they look alike on video, right? So the only other way to do it is fingerprint identification. I mean, I know he touched the box. Or did he? Or did they carry it over to that table?
I got that scene pulled
he probably
up right
touched
here.
it. He probably touched
definitely
it. I'm
touching
sure.
the cremains. Yep, he's touching the box.
You know, but
I think you're giving old banker dude too much credit.
I'm going too far. I'm too far.
He just
Pull
wants
me back,
to give his
Charpie.
guest a cream soda, man.
Yeah. Or maybe what I'm missing is what's the intent of the writers in cream soda that it's come up twice in a season, because it's not a normal thing. Or do they think cream soda is a Midwestern thing?
I don't know. Do you drink cream soda?
I used to love. The only time I ever drank cream soda was fishing in my grandfather's boat.
What is cream soda?
It's delicious.
I mean, I actually never drank
like,
it when I was a kid. I wasn't always a huge soda drinker, but certainly like in junior high, up to about junior high, I drank a fair amount of Coke and mug root beer, if that's still around. But I never drank cream soda because I thought it always sounded gross, like cream and soda.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, it's a vanilla soda.
Sure, and I like vanilla. Call it vanilla soda.
I don't know why they called it cream soda. It's just the way it is. I mean, it's light colored or like kind of tan. I think they would put just a little bit of caramel coloring in it to get it just a little darker so that you'd know what it was. But I don't know. I mean, it's like one of those things. Like, didn't you ever drink Sioux City sarsaparilla out here?
No. I don't even know what that is.
God, we got to talk to Mama Charpie and be like, why did you deny your child joy?
What? So you're drinking cream soda with your grandpa in his fishing boat? That's what you said?
Yeah, I don't remember why. I just don't. I have this very vivid memory of eating like salami and bun sandwiches and sitting on the boat. I wasn't real big into fishing, so the sandwich and the
sandwiches.
Yeah, like round white buns and just like the big round cuts of salami that you'd cut yourself and then peel the wrapper off of it and then just slap a healthy
summer sausage?
dose of. Oh yeah, then just slap a healthy dose of like butter on it, and then just American cheese, and then you put those back into the original bun bag though, all of them. You make all 8 to 12 buns at once, and you cram them back into the bag and just slap those in the cooler.
That's still to this date, and I did that a lot for sure, and that was always like my road trip food, and still to this day it is my road trip food. Little like gas station buns and summer sausage, and you throw them in a sack, and you got like your own homemade like White Castle sandwich like sack.
Yeah,
and you can snack on it like the whole road trip.
And it's never as satisfying if you do it with like something like ham or turkey.
No,
it's just not the same.
Nice thickly cut summer sausage.
Yeah, because the shapes, the round bun, the round thing. See, okay, there you go, people.
And do you know what?
They should be hiring us.
You know why it's also perfect? Because you don't need a cooler. It doesn't have to be cold. Summer sausage, by definition, can be warm. It's made to sit in the summer. That's why it's called summer sausage. Well, it's designed for picnics.
It's also like it got like 9,000% of the daily salt you need in a day.
That's right.
It will never grow bacteria.
Salt and fat and meat. The trifecta.
Yeah, it'll get a little like grody on the outside. You just cut that part off.
That's what the casing's for. You can eat the casing if it's fresh. If it's not fresh, peel the casing off.
Right.
If you're eating a summer sausage, do you eat the casing? Or do you peel it off?
I only eat the casing if I know it's natural, but most of the store-bought the stuff that I had growing up was not a natural casing, and it was like a papery stuff, So no, you don't eat it because it's like this papery shit.
I mean, obviously, if it's paper, you don't eat it. But if it's just like that like dark red sort of stringy, that you can kind of eat it, but if it comes off easy, you just might as well not.
Oh, dude!
I mean, do you like? Okay,
you grew
here's
up
another...
in some fancy upbringing that I never had, man. All my stuff came from like Hormel, with no natural casing on it. It was not like that. It was lips and assholes. And now we have so derailed, but we're gonna keep going because I want to know what you're gonna ask.
I want to know if you're the type of person that like peels the casing back and then slices the rounds of delicious sausage meat, or do you slice the rounds and then take the casing off in like strands?
You slice the rounds, and then when you're done, you just do a tiny slit through the round you cut.
Yeah.
And you just peel that like its own little, and then you can save them and throw them in the air like ribbons.
Oh, like a
yay,
reward.
Yeah, like sausage party. Wait, I can't believe it.
Like like pistachio shells or something, or like throwing peanut shells on the floor. It's your.
No, you don't peel it back. That's inefficient.
You're
and
throwing
wasteful.
your sausage wrapper onto the ground and
yes.
Celebrating.
Also, just full disclosure, Hormel was founded in Austin, Minnesota, which is why I was bringing up Hormel. I'm not sure if they're a thing. Okay, so anyway, so you've never had cream soda. Next episode we'll figure that out. I'm going to tie two quick things together. So like I said, I really do think this was kind of a slow episode, but it's there for a reason. I feel like what we kind of my quick take of what did I learn about Ray is that he's actually, outside of the awfulness of like, he never hired anyone to hurt somebody, right?
Right.
Maurice did that. He didn't want to he didn't send Maurice to steal all his brother's shit. He sent him to get one stamp. And I think that, and then between that and him talking to Nikki, putting his hand on the window like he loves her, he loves her, and then only taking as much as he thought was fair market value for the stamp. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, you go back to when they're talking nasty about Nikki, you could, whatever it was they said about her that I brought up in the hot dish, that it was just, oh, here, it's like using her poontang to hoodwink and bamboozle. That's what they do, son. That kind of stuff. She's a skank you can fry bacon on. That's the comment. Sorry, I had to flip into my notes here. And he takes offense to that. He thinks that's in her past and that she's a better person. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. But I think that this is his thing. I feel like I learned in this episode that Ray is actually one of the nicer people on this show. And he's just made some really, really screwy choices.
Okay. You touched on a few things there that I thought were interesting. Before Ray goes into the bank to impersonate his brother, he touches the glass as like a little the car door window, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he puts his palm against the glass.
Yeah, and kind of smudges it up a little bit. Does he not?
Does he? Cool. Okay.
Well, let me just double check. Okay.
Well, it doesn't matter.
It matters.
Or is it supposed to matter? Oh, there's a point you're about to make.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he left a little smudge. I got it pulled up right here. Okay, leave the car, buddy. So
for those of you who are paying customers, this is at 5 minutes and 36 seconds.
Yeah, I guess it's not that noticeable, so maybe I'm reading into it too much. It's more so on the finger. He puts his whole hand on the glass, and then he touches the glass with his finger. And that, to me, when I saw, I guess what I was remembering was the finger smudge. Because it was like, Ray's telling her that he loves her and he means well, but in his wake, he leaves a mess.
A little bit.
Could be reading into that a little bit too much, but I love that kind of stuff if that was intended.
I do that all the time on this show.
It's almost as if we have to talk about it every week.
Yeah, and we should do a show about this show. I did like that she didn't look away and like shrug him off. She was looking at him to say, I really do think she feels that way for him so far. And
if so, then good for him, man. What a score.
I mean, for all I know, she's going to meet Yuri and the whole thing's going to be over and she's going to be all over some Cossack.
I wish you could have seen Bill's face right there. Okay, so he comes back with his supposedly fair market value of the stamp. That's another thing.
Well, wait, can we, just in case somebody doesn't listen to the hot dish, so we did cover the Laverne thing and the ashes, and that we feel it was a throwback to season 2 that took place in Laverne, Minnesota, but we know it's a dead pet. And not to gloss over this, but the bank guy, they drill the lock, and there's just some really gloriousness and serious gloriousness in there where he acts a lot like his brother and threatens to take everything to chase. So, sorry, carry on. So he gets back in the car.
He comes back to the car with his $10,000, knowing that his brother has, $1 million in the bank at least. This also shows Ray's just just kind of his innocence a little bit. Maybe it's naivete. but also was the fair market value of that stamp really $10,000, or is that what he assumes, or is he like totally like ignorant to the fact of how much these stamps are worth? Because certainly, we don't know how many stamps there were, but you're not going to start a parking lot empire with a couple $10,000 stamps, right? I mean, there has to be more to it than that, or maybe there was 100.
I don't know,
50 stamps. Who knows?
But if that one
was framed,
or maybe you did, maybe you did start it with that little. We don't know how much time has passed, and think about the cost of land in some of those shitty places. I mean, for real, thinking about Minnesota, right? In Minneapolis, some of those like rundown places in the cities before like it started getting all gentrified and shit in a bunch of those neighborhoods. I bet you some of that stuff could have gone cheap, with the exception of Vikings days. When your shitty parking lot makes a ton of money because people want to grill brats and drink beer in the parking lot and do whatever it is they do.
Sure. So then, if that's the case, then really like Emmett's like the good guy, because he just did something with his inheritance instead of just taking the Corvette and driving it around for 20 years.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. He's obviously more savvy overall, but I don't know. I feel like he knew how much that was. Like he was there for enough for a ring, and I don't feel like Ray would be there for $100,000. He just needs enough to get Nikki a ring that he thinks is great. And I actually don't think they're super lavish people. I don't think he's even in it for the money all the time. He loves being with her. He loves playing. They're excited to get a sponsor, and they're really happy about the Wildcats. Still, they're like Trump with his election map. He rolls that Wildcat out every once in a while. Sorry, folks, I got political there, but so yeah, So that's what I think. I mean, I guess I'm kind of agreeing with you, but I also do think the stamp is really that much.
Okay.
How much the other collection was, or what he conned his brother out of, I don't know if we'll ever know. But very obviously, they took two different paths based on that choice in their life.
Mm-hmm. So I know you touched on the political road there a little bit. I'm going to segue. I'm going to use that as my next segue.
Okay.
Mimo and Yuri, we get a little bit of a montage with them. Very brief. You see Emmett looking at them in the office, and he's like, "What the fuck are these guys up to?" Then you see them leave, and Yuri is telling this story about Vladimir Putin and how he grew up knowing he wanted to be in what at that time was the FSB. Ultimately going into the KGB after but he's talking about Putin ruling the playground with his fists after he learned like Sambo and judo and all this stuff.
Strong like a bull.
What I thought was interesting about this little brief segment was that Yuri's telling Mimo this story in the car, but Mimo has headphones in.
I was going to ask if you noticed that. I've always wondered if he was just talking to himself.
Right. So he's listening to something else, or they're like some form of earplug or what, but Mimo seems to be all business, and Yuri is thinking they're maybe buddies or something. I don't know. That's not really the point I'm getting to, but I thought that was interesting. Yuri's sitting there smoking a cigarette. Mimo's driving, and he's got these headphones in. I'm not sure what the story is behind that. I'm sure we'll get a little bit more out of that when we learn more about their relationship. But here's what I found interesting about that.
Okay.
Speaking of the political stuff.
I have a feeling I know where you're going to go.
Here's what Yuri says. When Putin was a boy, he already knew he wanted to be FSB. Okay, blah, 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 blah. And then he's talking about the Russian words for truth. Pravda, which is man's truth. Istina, which is God's truth. And then there's one more word, Nepravda, which is untruth. And then Yuri goes on to say, and this is the weapon the leader uses because he knows what they don't. The truth is whatever he says it is. Now, if that's not more like applicable to today's time with Trump getting a boner over Putin and Trump knowing that the truth, or living a life where the truth is whatever he says it is. That's really interesting. But this goes even further. Russia is playing the show Fargo on the state-owned channel, Channel 1 or whatever it's called. And they've censored this show. They've censored this speech in this story from Yuri in particular. So they've removed all references to Putin, but they kind of kept the story. But let me show you what they changed.
Yeah.
He says, let's see. Yuri says the truth is whatever he says it is. Meaning Vladimir Putin is using that as his weapon, the truth being whatever he says it is, because only he knows everything. He knows what the people that he's ruling don't know. But they changed it in Russia on the Russian airing to say untruth is a weapon because somebody knows and you don't. The truth is only what exists in reality. And then they removed the references to Putin and replaced it with words like spy and all this kind of stuff, which I thought was really interesting.
I thought you were going to tell me about the fact that if you Google Pravda and Istina and the Pravda, you will also come up with a 2016 New York Times article that says, to understand Trump, learn Russian.
Oh, really? I did not see that.
They talk about Pravda, but we don't have to go crazy about that. And Pravda was a Russian newspaper as well for many, many, many years.
Oh, I did not know
who
that.
Knows? It might. Yes. So they had, which is kind of hilarious, that Russia had a newspaper called Trust or Truth.
Here's what they say. They say the boy. This is Yuri talking about Putin. In our version, they say Putin, but in this version, they say the boy dreamt of becoming a spy since childhood, which I kind of already mentioned, but. There are some pretty shady news site stories talking about this, which I guess is what you get when you are trying to get news out of a country like Russia.
Right, yeah. One of those things where I feel like I'm at this point where you Google enough stuff and then you go, yeah, I don't know if I want to click any of that.
Yeah.
And
this isn't the first time Russia has been censoring or changing the show before it airs. The show Fargo specifically before it airs in the country, which is
I don't think
sad.
that's I don't know if I think that happens in all sorts of places. But anyway,
that's why we don't need to be allies with a country like that.
Okay,
sorry.
Hey, you know what I'm going to do to fix that?
Hold on. Give me 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. I'm going to grab another.
See, Matt is running to the refrigerator, and I just slowly let mine get warm as we record by just setting them down next to my microphone here. So Charpie, when he gets back and he opens his beer, we're totally going to talk about this whole Chief Damick being kind of a turd. Matt, I was telling everybody I let my beers get warm by just leaving them on the desk next to me, but
certainly is more convenient.
Yeah, so
brings out the flavor.
We end up with Chief Damick and Gloria talking, and I feel like he's an asshole, and B, the one thing I caught on my second viewing outside of his Walter speech, my brothers didn't die face down within the gut, with their guts in their boots. This is where I was going to bring back Howard Zimmerman.
Okay, cool. I don't have to remind you.
He talks about, well, because I put a note in here real quick. He's talking about IEDs, and then he goes off on this. It's all random, Mm-hmm. And I feel like this comes back to that Zimmerman talk in the nursing home, where he talks about we're just like particles flying through the universe, and that when we crash into each other, and I feel like he's still commenting on that same thing about the randomness of it all. I mean, because it's just car parts and stuff crammed into these bombs, and you don't know, and you're just walking around, and that's when he gets to that.
You whether you live or die depends on whether you decided to walk the dog or mow the lawn.
Right. And
Which-
I that's what I thought was interesting.
Which is the narrow escape problem, maybe.
Mhm.
Because whether or not, because you're in this walled area bouncing around, so maybe whether or not you escape is also totally random.
Yes. And then he gets onto his point where he talks about people went home in a bag, and then Gloria just responds with, well, I'm already home, so I'm going to go ahead and do this. Okay, bye now.
Mm-hmm. I tried to dive into Mo Damek a little bit more than I probably should have. Well, first of all, and I said this in the hot dish, Mo Damek is much more the grandfather than Sai is. I said this in the hot dish. I think Sai's the cat because Sai's stalking Ray, and that's what the cat does in Peter and the Wolf.
Mhm.
And Mo is more of the grandfather character because he is a little grumpy old bitch, and he's telling Peter, aka Gloria, aka Peter, what to do and what not to do and all this stuff, and she's obviously doing the opposite, which is exactly what happens in Peter and the Wolf. So he's basically scolding her. He's telling her not to go after the wolf, and that's exactly what she's doing. And we know the wolf is VM Fargo, so Mo Damek is the grandfather in Peter and the Wolf. Now,
Right.
obviously there can be more than one, and they say Sai is the grandfather or whatever. But I tried to look into Mo Damek's name. I researched Damek and what could that translate to and all this other stuff. And I kind of came up. I kind of came to a lot of dead ends. So I don't know where that name came from. I thought maybe it might relate to Maurice LaFay somehow, because maybe it was maybe Damek translates to just stop or avoid this, because Mo could be short for Maurice, and maybe it's sort of a play on words. I don't know. Ran into a lot of dead ends there. I did research his bars, the merit badges he has on his badge, and it looks as though he's got 2 merit badges. One seems to be pretty much the universal symbol for saving a life. That's the red and white bars. And maybe if other people know about law enforcement merit badges, they could shed some more light on this, because I really don't know anything other than what I could find on the internet. So if you do know, if you're in law enforcement or you have some knowledge on this, please hit us up, send us a note, or hit us up on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. And then the other one, which is above, I believe it's above the life-saving bars, the red and white, looks to be what is either a Medal of Honor or a Medal of Valor, which are both very similar. And that's the white, blue, white pattern above his badge. So there's a little background to him. I don't know if that will play into the story or not, or if that's just the props they found. But either way, his character has a merit badge for saving lives
And making fire. I'm just kidding. No, I think we've learned over time, though, that the prop department for FX Fargo has been pretty spot on and had a very good eye for detail. Just even on regional stuff like the Barrel of Fun things that we've talked about, and the Red Owl and all that jazz.
That's exactly right, and that's why we got to look into this stuff.
Yeah, there's this scene where Gloria passed. The strings are playing, and Nikki passed her, and I looked at that coat again.
Oh my God, so did I, dude.
Did you notice that? I looked at that coat, and I was like, that coat is like a calico cat. Did you see that part?
That's way easier than what I was trying to find, but
you're right. A calico cat has all these splotchy black, brown, gray, all these colors, and I thought, oh my God, that jacket. Because that jacket is just totally awesome, but I keep thinking, who would wear that in this day and age?
Right? And that coat stood out to me too.
She's got herself a really classy haircut, and then she's got that jacket. But then I think, man, that thing it looked like a calico cat, and so I'm sticking to that.
I think you're definitely right on that. That's just a representation, and that's when the music for the cat is really prominent too.
Right. What were you going to say? Why, you sound like you had something different.
I knew it. I knew that it stood out. It stood out big time. So I was like, there's got to be something with that jacket. And of course, you're a cat man, and I'm not. So, you know, you got cats crawling around your chin right now.
No, I don't. That's just my beard. The cats are upstairs somewhere, happily fed for right now.
Bill,
I like pets, dude. Let's not.
Bill soaks his underwear in warm milk before he wears them.
Oh God, that's gross.
Yeah. I know. I've been trying to tell you for years.
Even without the cat thing, it's just gross to think about soaking my underwear in milk.
Warm milk. So I thought there had to be something to the jacket, but definitely you're right. So I was looking up, I was like Google image searching the jacket because I thought I'd seen that jacket before, and I'm sure I have, just elsewhere. I thought maybe that was worn by some character in a Coen Brothers movie, and that's what I was trying to find. Because it looks familiar for some reason, and I don't know why. Probably because I own that jacket, but also because I thought maybe it's got to be somewhere in another show.
Yeah. I mean, I would go more with calico than like a tortoiseshell cat, but it's definitely calico to me.
Definitely. So then after that, right as they pass, Gloria is going to the probation or parole office, I guess you would say.
Right.
And she's going to hit up and have some words with Ray, see what Ray knows about this Maurice LeFay. And she goes to the receptionist, and the receptionist is on Facebook.
Looking at Adam Stockwell?
Yes. Did you look up this guy?
I didn't get around to it, but I wrote it in hopes that you would.
I did. Man, I spent like freaking 30 minutes trying to find this Adam Stockwell guy. I assumed he was either there was some sort of play in the universe going on with this Adam Stockwell character, or that he was like a crew member. I couldn't find
craft service, like everybody's
listed.
favorite craft service guy.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping to find. Like he's somebody in the crew that, and he still might be, but uncredited, because I could not find. I was like, this has got to be something, because it's so very clear. The name is big. They obviously redesigned. It's obviously Facebook, but it's redesigned. It's like, you know, the set designer's interpretation of Facebook, but enough so that his name is nice and big, and there's a big old picture. And
well, no, what you got to remember is that I think that was Facebook. That was just Facebook back then.
Do you think so? I don't remember it looking like that. Also, I don't know,
but
Facebook.
there are companies that do that. I mean, like if you've ever watched Silicon Valley on HBO. There are companies that literally make screenshots and make sure code looks proper and stuff now.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I listen to like Twit, like this Week in Tech and Mac Break Weekly and stuff like that. But they've actually been like one of the tabs in a browser on these TV shows. So people throw things in there all the time. So somewhere there's got somebody who helped make that screen. Either it was that guy or somebody was like, dude, I threw you into this TV show. But I just thought it was great that she's just like on Facebook at work.
Yeah.
It's just, how realistic could you be?
And there's
that realistic.
Yeah, of course. And there's like a delay to like Gloria's response as she's still kind of browsing at this crush of hers.
Yeah.
Gloria's like, excuse me or whatever. And she's still looking at this guy on Facebook, and then slowly rolls her eyes up towards Gloria.
Right.
Oh, Adam Stockwell, tell us who you are. Somebody.
Yeah, somebody tell us who Adam Stockwell is. Somebody from FX, please tell us. Well, okay, so this actually led me to something else that I don't think has anything to do with anything, but we talk about those things on the show, is that over her shoulder, then eventually she had a hand-washing sign on the
what
poster
the hell
board by
is
her
with
desk.
that?
And then but then right after that, it immediately cuts to the restroom, and if you look in the mirror, you see 3 hand-washing signs. Well, 2 signs about hand washing and 1 about how to dry your hands. And eventually, there's the one on the wall that tells you that you basically can't have your coats and stuff or whatever. No bags, coats should be brought into the toilet stall, or sample will be considered invalid. But obviously, it's a parole office, so they have to tell people that. But Why would you put it by the sink? But I just thought, why are people being encouraged so seriously? And then there's like a sign over the toilet, or they're just like, this bathroom needs something. Let's just put up a bunch of signs in the prop department, or set dressers.
Right. The instructions above the hand dryer are just like, that's baffling to me. Like, do you really need instructions on how to wash your hands? And the instructions show how to dry your hands, but they're referring to a paper towel dispenser, and this is like a hand dryer.
I only thought they were maybe there about how to do things, and Gloria, all she wanted to do was wash her hands, and she couldn't. There's instructions everywhere. There's all the stuff, and she can't do it. And even in the face of Winnie trying to shake her hand after she asked for a, and I still, hey friend, you wouldn't have a putter in her, would you, by chance? Still real, but did I call her Winnie? Holy crap, I've been calling her Winnie or something the whole time. It's Penny. Jesus.
What? I thought it was Winnie.
Penny Lopez, St. Cloud Metro, isn't it? Or did I type it wrong? Now I'm like second guessing myself.
I think Winnie's right. Penny doesn't seem right.
Ugh. Maybe I was thinking about Big Bang Theory. I just don't want people sending all sorts of messages in. Simmer down here, folks. We're in the midst of things. Anyway, I just thought, and what a pleasant note she ends on. She's like, what are you doing? Well, I got like a 1083 or whatever the hell it was, she says. And she's like, you? And she's like, murder. And then she goes, well, happy trails. Like, that's the Midwestern spirit. Like, well, that's horrible. Well, good luck. And then she leaves that just glorious little note for her on the car as well.
Oh, yeah.
Just like, can you get any more bright? Like really bright, not like smart bright. Like, oh, I'm a nice person.
That's an interesting character. That one's kind of hard to peg for me. She's a little bit like Marge, but not in the sense that she's like not reserved whatsoever.
No, she can't. You can't put that toothpaste back in the tube. When she starts saying something, she's gonna say it. She doesn't give a shit. I mean, all the way down to the whole. What was the line she said about her just basically getting the shortest distance to do something? What was it? There was lots of sex talks and her husband punching her clock.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, what I thought about it is A, it was funny. B, it's the fact that she actually closed the distance of this investigation really fast.
Yeah. She, for sure. And this whole episode could have been like the first or second episode. I feel like we're just now getting started and we're just been trudging through a little bit. And I don't want to knock the show because I want to like the show, and I do. And the first and second seasons were awesome. But I feel like we've just been like, we've got like mud on our boots and we're just like trying to wade through this weight a little bit. And it's just not that much going on. And then we get to an episode like this where it introduces all the characters kind of again. And we're now just getting rolling, and Winnie is like a catalyst, and it is Winnie.
It is, I know.
She's like the catalyst to starting to close these gaps. She's the catalyst to the narrow escape problem. She's starting to close. She's starting to close the boundaries here a little bit and start to get to the bottom of shit, which is about frickin' time because we're gonna be like at the halfway mark this week.
Damn near. That's why I'm saying I hope that something like really swift and holy shitty happens where you just go, whoa, like, those things kind of happen and we expect them, but I don't know. I think it would be really interesting to see him just axe. Maybe can you imagine if he axed Ray or Emmett? Or at least made you think he did because VM Varga has swallowed the wolf or has swallowed the duck and you think he's gone. But anyway.
But we're not even close to getting to a point like that. Not within one episode anyway.
Yeah, we are.
I don't think so. What?
We already know VM's been listening to phone calls and he's already said, is your brother going to be a problem? Because all he's interested in is making his business run properly so that he can make that paper. So speaking of that, VM, so in the hot dish, we were thinking that, or at least I was thinking that VM was the one who sent the images of Ray and Nikki to the parole office
or Ray's bosses or whatever. But everybody else says that that's Sai. Like in the reviews that I've read anyway. But do we know? Do we know that?
I think it's ambiguous at this point because we don't know if Sai's there to say "fuck you, I sent the pictures," or if he's there to say "fuck you, I put a boot on your car," or "fuck you, I did both." I don't think Sai is smart enough to send pictures.
I don't either.
His response to him giving him a "let me show you what's in my pocket" middle finger was to run into his car with his yellow Hummer and then run into another car, which now gets him into a sim.
And in the process of doing it, he leaves a bigger mess for himself. That's why I don't think he did it either.
Okay, cool. Let's stick with that.
But I found like 2 or 3 sources that say Sai did this. But I just wanted to know if I missed something in the episode because I've watched it a couple times now, and I don't see anything, any evidence that points to Sai. Is there? Am I missing something? Like, was Sai's fucking name on the damn envelope of photographs?
I don't know. I think this is what sometimes is the problem. I mean, it varies week to week to how much I feel like reading from other people. And
right.
I mean, I feel like you and I do a lot of like, I'm just going to Google this random thing and then think about it a little bit. I'm not saying I don't ever read anything, but the problem is these guys, they're in this race. Like when I say these guys, I'm talking about like reviews that are typed, like written. And I think they're in this race to get it out because that's what they need to do, because got to get the clicks going, got to get the things. And so I don't know, maybe I feel like in this small instance, I feel like those are all really smart people who do a really good job of picking up a lot of shit because they're writers and they know literary stuff and television really well and film. But I don't know. I saw one thing like that and I just thought, what? Or somebody commented on it maybe somewhere and I thought, no, I'm not sure it's that. But I mean, it's the obvious choice because who else would have access to that party, But I think that VM Varga has been tracking, stalking, and sniffing around like a wolf far longer.
Because that's what wolves do.
Than either of the Stussy brothers have any idea about. They're still stuck with clicks and buzzes and not knowing what's going on. And meanwhile, they're just being... The clicks and buzzes, I mean, if you think about it, it's like, isn't that what people usually say you hear when you know there's a wiretap going on? Mm-hmm. And so I think... I don't know. It could really go either way for me, and maybe we'll find out soon. We could find out.
Yeah, we will find out. Maybe we'll find out. I don't think Sai's capable of taking those photographs. I don't know how those photographs...
Or there might have been just somebody at that party just photographing people in general. I mean, I don't know. Should I go back and play episode 1 again and rewatch it and find out, there was a party photographer there taking socialite photos?
Well, here's the deal. You're right, because we see VM Varga in his trailer home later on in the episode, and he's sort of going over social media and news websites and things like that, and he's actually pulling up a picture of Sai. You see a picture of Sai on his screen, and it looks very much like the quality, like that SLR quality that are in these photos. He could have easily just come across those photos and like on the internet, or he could have cropped them from like a big crowd of photos. He knows what he's doing. He could have just freaking Googled all this shit.
Yeah, I wanted to see the back of that trailer. There was like this cage area that had like what appeared to be like all this hardcore surveillance stuff, and I wanted to see more of it, but it went by so fast that even if I feel like even pausing, you couldn't get enough of it. It
went by so fast, and you see this like I don't know if it was a dolly move or not. I can't remember right now, but it's kind of closing in onto VM Fargo like laying on his back. I don't know if that's where he sleeps or whatever, and he's talking on the phone. Do you recall that?
I'm looking at it right now real quick because they open the scene and they like pound on the side of the thing to let him know they're coming in. And he's still, what is that thing that like it's almost like a bullwhip you said he has?
Yeah, it's like
and what is Mimo always listening to on those damn headphones?
Right. He's just getting amped up
so
the whole time.
So he opens the door.
He's listening to some
it's like
Eric Church or something.
Like, it does back out. There's like it's like a dolly shot, just moving backwards.
Oh, it's moving back.
Actually, now that I look at this, I don't know, or it's a really nice Steadicam shot too. Who knows? Because they never show the floor completely, but they do go to a section where it's like they cut to this thing. There's this cage area in the back. There's all sorts of surveillance screens up and what appear to be hard drives and stuff. And Mimo is, I feel like he's the tech. He's the tech guy. That's what it is. He's the tech guy, and Yuri is the muscle.
Sure.
You know, and
like
so
Bebop
Dolly's
and
away.
Rocksteady.
And there's a motorcycle in that thing. I also have a note about this. There's a motorcycle in that thing, and it's gonna come back. And the other thing is, if you pause at like 1354,
1354,
yeah, somewhere around 1354. And I'm just gonna remind you of something. That there are 3 or 4 scenes in this where everybody has a lamp that like has a gooseneck on it. Like VM Varga has this one clip to his thing. If you go in, there's a scene where in the very, very beginning, where who was it? There was, I don't know, there's just a bunch of scenes where there's just these lamps. One of them I swear was an IKEA lamp too that I actually own. But yeah. Everybody's got like a little one. Emmett has one on his desk, and yeah, it's just one of those weird things I notice that don't mean anything. It's just styling.
I do agree that motorcycles definitely got to come back.
Why is there a motorcycle in there?
Well, I mean, you can't be driving around a frickin' 18-wheeler around town, man.
Yeah.
But I obviously don't see VM Varga cruising around on a Ducati or anything.
Yeah, I did love this little scene. I'm skipping back, but I really loved the miniatures scene with Sai. Like he's a big boy playing. He's a kid. He's a man in a kid's world, for vice versa, a kid in a world for men, and he's pushing that around. And there's this whole
and he
narrative thing, and yeah.
I was hoping that he was actually like simulating his gotcha to Ray and like crashing into a car, because he's controlling a yellow SUV, which obviously he's thinking that's his, big badass Hummer, and he kind of pulls the Hummer into the parking lot, and he gets real close to another car as he parks the yellow SUV in the model. And I played it a couple times because I thought he actually like hit the other car, maybe simulating like his badassery or something.
Yeah, I know. I saw that.
He doesn't actually hit it, but he could have been thinking that. Let's assume
all I thought was you suck at parking.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so much.
A couple things. We still have a couple things to get through. First,
can I get through? What do you want to do first? You tell me.
Okay, because this will be more brief. And we were just talking about it. The photo that Ray has with Nikki Swango sent to his bosses. They're like, hey man, you can't do this. It's in the handbook. Blah blah blah. Hoobie stank, whatever the line is. Poontang for Hooba Stanker son.
I want to let you keep saying this. The line is using her poontang to hoodwink and bamboozle, and then the other guy says, "See, that's what they do, son."
Right?
Because women aren't to be
Midwestern
trusted.
Line, using your poontang to hoodwink
women
and bamboozle.
Women aren't to be trusted. Using their punani.
So, good up for Ray. I like that he just quit his job for his woman.
Yeah.
And you think, sometimes there's these dudes and they're just like, they got the glossy eyes over their lady, and when really they're getting swindled. But we've seen from Nikki's face that there really isn't a lot of evidence yet that Ray is actually getting swindled. She does seem to have like a true affection for him, but maybe we're getting swindled because Mary Elizabeth Winstead is so fucking hot.
You as the viewer, Charpie as the viewer is his own Ray.
I'm getting hoodwinked.
Yeah. She is looking directly into the camera lens in that shot, which is very disarming because it's, breaking that fourth wall. And like, did you notice that? If you go back and pause at it, she's staring directly into the lens, or almost damn near into it. Mm-hmm. Like he's staring at her and she's staring at you, basically.
We are being bamboozled.
2632, folks. Just 20 if you pay for the show like we do. 2632.
Nobody's doing that.
Well, we do, so whatever.
So
because this show is worth the money. Don't
No,
stop
not that they're not
stealing.
paying for it. I'm just saying they're not going to go back and look at freaking minute 26. But here
They have a life.
here's the conundrum. We know that later on in the evening, Nikki and Ray have a meeting with frickin' Burt Lurdsman or whatever his name is, right? Burt, is that it? Yeah, that is it.
I want to know how they're
Lurdsman.
making these. It is Burt Lurdsman. I had to turn on closed captioning just to make sure I heard it.
That's a
right.
great
And I was
idea.
like, it sounds like Turd Ferguson to me. It sounds like,
It's the Midwest Turd Ferguson, is what it is.
yeah, it's Burt
Stop
Lurdsman.
being such a Burt Lurdsman.
Yeah, Burt Lurdsman. What is he the king of? The plumbing king of
plumbing supplies.
the plumbing king of St. Cloud.
Yep. So we know they have this important meeting with their potential bridge sponsor, Burt
Their ship has
Lurdsman.
come in.
Their ship is coming in. And here's what I don't get. He quits his job for his lady, his smoking hot lady, and then he leaves her out to dry. He stands her up for the Burt Lurdsman meeting. Now, how does that happen? You just left your job. You got $10,000 in your pocket. Well, technically now, I guess Nikki probably has it, right? Well, we don't know, I guess, but he's got $10,000 theoretically that he stole from his brother. He just quit his job. Now they can maybe pursue their awesome freaking semi-professional bridge career, and he goes to the bar.
Because I think you're missing the part where they're going to send her back, and he's not sure. So the question is, yes, he's fired, he's left, and they have all this stuff, but is it for real? Are they going to send her up? Are they going to send her to Stillwater?
You think so?
And I think that's so heartbreaking to him that he doesn't know how to tell him.
I guess that's probably it. You may very well be right there. I was kind of thinking that by him leaving his job, maybe they can just drop this thing, and that was the deal. But I guess it was never said.
Right.
Because what's in it for them to go out of their way to send her back if potentially she didn't do anything, or if essentially she didn't do anything wrong, Ray did something wrong, and Ray took the ultimate punishment for it.
And I also, by the way, I was letting the the thing play, and I feel like somebody stole those pictures from Facebook. Because later on, when they're showing VM Fargo looking at Facebook, and he's talking about Esau was a hairy man and I was a smooth man, he's looking at the stuff that shows pictures on the website or on Facebook of those things, like even pictures of him in front of his Corvette and stuff. It's all blurred out in the background, but if you go back and watch it.
Yeah, so he most likely just acquired those photos, right? Because I'm sure there were tons of photos taken at this swanky party.
Yeah. And
so he probably ripped them off by creeping people's Facebook profiles.
Also, fun little moment. I'm pretty sure it's a picture of the they were talking about the dog that died, that he messed up the dog. The remains of the dog. Who would do that,
Mm-hmm.
I just realized that there might be a nod to the dog here. I just sent you a text message. Look at the reflection of Facebook in VM Varga's glasses, and it's a picture of a dog.
Oh my God, that is fantastic.
4201, for those of you at home who actually give a shit about the details that may or may not mean anything, but...
No.
Yeah, that's not a wolf, that's a dog. Or a guy, I don't know, it could be a wolf, but it's...
No,
I
that's
feel
not a wolf.
He's and then it cuts...
That is awesome, dude.
I love watching these. Seriously, I could watch these shows with the sound off after I do this and just rewatch it. Like, even when you cut back to the scene, in that scene, you cut back to the donkey and there's a bird in the... anyway. I feel like we got to talk about a couple
these
things
are good details.
No, I want to get back on track about a couple things because you had two things you want to talk about.
Well, this is the next thing.
Okay.
It's basically goes into I basically wanted to go into the office, Emmett's office with this conversation, because we know. So VM Varga comes over to their house unexpectedly, Emmett's house, and they have dinner in this sort of little, not the dining room, but like the dining nook or whatever, kitchen side room. I don't know. That was as much of a dining room as I've ever had. But so blah blah blah. There's not really like, we kind of discussed that in the hot dish. But now we're in Emmett's office, and we've got VM Varga here, and this is kind of what you're talking about, is kind of cutting in and out of this conversation that they're having, where VM Varga is talking about this revolution that's inevitably coming upon them, and VM is trying to get Emmett on his side to be prepared, to have the resources, to have the money, to have everything in preparation for when basically the poor people, the peasants, come out with their pitchforks and attack him. And what does that mean? Is that a threat that he's using? That is VM setting up a story that he's just making up to scare Emmett into thinking he needs this partnership, or people are going to come after him with pitchforks because VM Varga might have some way of sending the people after him? I don't know, but VM is living the lifestyle he's talking about. He's sort of a product. He's sort of putting his money where his mouth is. He's living invisibly.
Yeah, I mean, it's so here we are ending the story, right? Or almost ending this episode with Emmett, and we opened with Emmett as this peacock character I talked about how he is, but VM also goes into this whole thing where he just basically is like, look, I'm wearing a shitty tie, because I don't, it's about, I feel like he's talking to him about blending in a little or something. This is the part that I didn't really redigest well enough, because I was so stuck on watching the camera moves, and as they did it, it's very much like, do you ever watch Nerd Writer on YouTube? Have you ever heard of that guy?
Sorry, say that one more time. I lost connection.
I said, have you ever heard about Nerd Writer on YouTube?
Yeah. I've watched some of his
Have you
stuff.
seen that scene? Yeah, so if you look for Nerd Writer 1, NERDWRITER 1, he has all these like really great video essays. I feel like this was, I mean, I'm not going to put it in the exact same category, but he has a really, really, really great breakdown of how how Alfred Hitchcock blocks a scene. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I think I have seen that one actually.
So I found myself how Hitchcock blocks a scene. It's from a year ago. Anyway, I was rewatching this, and it's not exactly the same cinematography stuff, but I just watched how, with the series of discussion and threat and leaning over the desk, and then on top of it, flashbacks, which we don't get a lot of, that aren't like hardcore flashbacks. These are like flashbacks to just not that long ago, to him listening and looking at Facebook VM Varga. And yes, over the course of this whole thing, they switch sides of the desk. VM is now slouched very comfortably in Emmett's own chair, and Emmett is now the guest on the other side of the bargaining table, signing away a partnership. And I just in terms of how the whole scene moves in the discussion, I thought it was awesome and kind of beautiful how they traded places. It
was awesome. And they did trade places, and a reason why it wasn't so obvious to me, I mean, it should have been obvious because it's not like they're trying to hide it or anything.
I don't think they're trying to hide it, but it's just so subtle because of the way that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Go look at this Alfred Hitchcock scene, and it's just, they move about the room in like this natural way where they're talking about things. He gestures to stuff, and the way the camera moves through it, that it keeps changing the perspective of who's aggressive and who's not.
Yeah, but here's why it's subtle, because in filmmaking, there's this thing called the rule of 180, where you don't want, if two characters are interacting, you don't want to cross this 180-degree parallel where all of a sudden they're facing, like they might start by facing right, and then if you cross the parallel, that person's now facing left, because it's really disorienting to the viewer.
Yes, it feels wonky.
Yeah. So what this is, and oftentimes movies specifically subscribe to this other rule where villains tend to always face their action is left to right, I think.
Yes.
So the reason why it's so subtle in this scene, but also awesome and effective, but if it just like missed you, is because even though VM Varga is on your side as the viewer, and facing Emmett, who's behind his desk, eventually they switch spots, but the rule of 180 is never broken. VM is always he's always on the left facing right, and Emmett is always on the right facing left. So even though that sounds kind of weird, if you rewatch it, you'll understand what I'm saying, because it's hard it's hard to explain it with just audio. They never break that rule, so that's why it's so subtle.
And they intersperse it with shot, reverse shot.
Yeah.
Which happens quite a bit in Coen Brothers movies in general.
That was a lovely scene to watch. And then, yeah, you keep getting these like interstitials, these inserts of him doing his surveillance. VM Varga, like a little bit of his backstory of him researching these crazy folk.
So if you're interested in the whole Joel and Ethan Coen shot, reverse shot, that's actually not Nerd Writer. That is every frame a painting on YouTube. And if you should go watch Shot, Reverse Shot, it's really great. That's from February 2016. It's a great one. So yeah, we just got really nerdy. That had nothing to do with theme, and it was really more about cinema and television and storytelling. But you were right. They're always facing, and even in the shot, reverse shot, if you look back at it, their faces are very often tilted in a direction, you know?
Yep.
But yes, it is, because it gets really disorienting. It's the reason when you watch a scene where you want a train to go from one direction to the other, it usually goes left to right, because if it goes the other way, it's awkward.
It is awkward, yeah.
It feels awkward because we've been super trained. So
I love this kind of stuff. I had the opportunity at work to shoot a commercial yesterday. We shot for like 20 some hours. It was crazy. But that's why I slept till like 3 p.m. today. But I haven't done that in years, actually. I used to work for a production company. We used to do that kind of stuff all the time, but it was so fun to be back on a set and talking about this kind of stuff and nerding out on the details of things. And I do miss that a little bit. So I think rewatching this episode of Fargo today, after having been on a set for the last 20 hours, was even more fun because I'm like nitpicking, I'm watching the camera movements and watching the lens changes and things like that. And it's just like, man, people don't realize I shouldn't say that. I should give people credit. But there's a lot of work that goes into this stuff. And when we were shooting a commercial, and the commercial was more being shot like a film, it was a narrative, and it's going to be about 2 minutes long. But the amount of work it takes just to get like an insert shot of like a hand grabbing a glass or something like that, that can take an hour. And you can't just forego those shots because a lot of times they're pivotal in the storytelling. It might make sense to you, but it might make sense to you in just reading the script or reading the story or whatever, but you really need a ton of detail shots to effectively tell a story. And those detail shots they might last half of a second, but they're not unimportant.
No. You're talking about this as I'm like scrubbing, and I noticed that on Stupid Things Bill notices on Emmett's table, they have little owl salt and pepper shakers. And if you go all the way to her house, you go to Gloria's house, she also has owls in her house too.
There seems to be a bird theme.
There's an owl in she has an owl napkin holder on her table.
Remember in the first episode when we were talking about, it seems like Emmett has his bird fetish? Boom.
Yeah, there's birds. Oh, Jesus, stupid. How are we just talking about this now?
I know.
God damn it.
And remember, we're going over the fucking ice sculpture, and I'm thinking like it's a swan. And you're like, nah, I think that's a duck. And I'm like, that's a shitty swan, or it's a shitty swan duck thing.
Ugh, God, we're stupid.
So that's it. Yeah. So
now
maybe
I want to go back and look at all the stuff in the back of other people's.
We
whatever.
should go back to Emmett's study. Is what we should do, because there was a ton of shit in there.
There is. I just think they're all there just to continue the idea that he's the bird. But
right.
I also don't want to gloss over the fact that this episode does end with VM laying on the floor listening or doing whatever, and Gloria can't get these things out of her head, and what do you know, Winnie stops by, and yep, there we are. Did you notice that Gloria also has a horseshoe over her door, and so did Ennis, I mean. On the interior of her house, Gloria has a horseshoe over the door, and on the exterior of Ennis's house, he had a horseshoe over the door. So they're somewhat superstitious people. I don't know anyone out here who has horseshoes. Do you?
We had a horseshoe pit growing up.
Did you? No. I meant like the horseshoe like over your door as a good luck symbol. Also, going to just very, very quickly point out that if you go back and watch the scene of Gloria's house and you scrub through it, with the exception of me bringing up that cordless phone on the wall, in her kitchen there are like no crazy. There's like, it's just her counter is just chock full of stuff, but none of it is a microwave. You know, her stove is gas. She doesn't, it doesn't look like there's a lot of electronics in there.
Ultimately, that's going to save her life. I think that seems to be fairly obvious. But I'm super curious as to the backstory of it.
I am too.
And you kind of briefly mentioned that previous scene ending with a shot of VM Fargo on the floor. He's talking. He's talking on the phone. So that, I think, is most curious to me, because up to this point, we don't know who VM Varga answers
Works
to.
for. Nope. We don't.
So does he answer to somebody? He's clearly talking to somebody on the phone. I don't see him talking on the phone to Mimo or Yuri.
No, those guys are somewhere else, I think.
So it's possible that he does have somebody that he answers to, but I don't know.
He most definitely does.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. He is not the mastermind. He is... I mean, Mike Milligan answered to somebody. It's... There's somebody somewhere that's getting answered to. It's just... It has to be that way. There's just no way around that.
I miss Mike Milligan.
God, he was good last season, wasn't he? God, he was great. So I don't know. I feel like that's the show, dude.
Okay.
I feel like if you and I could like wax on this forever, but I know how long we've been recording, and didn't we just open this with a there's nothing? But I really do think there is nothing to some degree, and there is something, and that's the way it rolls with us. But so I did make. So thanks everybody who noticed. If you follow us, go to Fargo Talks Fargo /Facebook. Or Fargo Talks Fargo, Facebook.com/Fargo Talks Fargo, and you can see I was literally at a dealership. There's an import dealership here in town that I was at, and I looked out in the parking lot, and I was like, there's a big, giant yellow Hummer, and I thought, holy shit, Cy is here trying to take care of stuff, and Jim on Facebook commented that he was trying to get rid of evidence, traded in. That seems like something Cy would do. And then I didn't take a picture of it tonight, but there was another damn Hummer in the parking lot at Lowe's tonight when I was there. They're like showing up all over again. But I did make a hot dish. I know you didn't get around to it. It's a long story, and I almost didn't either because it was Mother's Day and all this other stuff. But so I made a tater tot enchilada hot dish. Which,
yes. Oh, there were tater tots in there too. Nice.
I told you on the phone. I said you can't do your I'm Charpie, I make pretty food thing. You got to Midwest this thing, and I made mine almost entirely out of ingredients that were either processed or pre-cooked. And
Basically, you're just mashing everything together and heating it up, right?
Isn't that what a hot dish really is?
I guess you're right. I mean, it's a hot dish of just mishmash.
Yeah. It's a hillock. And so I did that, but I'm trying to figure out how or where we're going to post that because we'll have to talk about that offline. But so keep an eye on our social media, which is we're at Fargo Talks Fargo on Twitter. You can follow Charpie at CHARPIE. You can follow me at LE, M as in Mary, P as in Paul, E, or you can, like I said, Fargo Talks Fargo. And so we're on Facebook, and we have FargoTalksFargo.com if you want to head there. And we have had a few extra people rate and comment on the show on iTunes, which is fantastic. We would love it if we would get more people who are enjoying the show to go there and do that. It obviously helps us when people go out there and try to decide what show they want to listen to. And so we appreciate that. So other than that, keep all the comments coming through the social media, and you can always email us at podcast@fargotalksfargo.com. We really do appreciate all the feedback you guys are giving us. Some weeks we can talk about a little bit. Some of it we just get a little off kilter here. But I thanks Charpie, and we didn't even get a chance to talk about the fact that the whole show ends with "You Don't Know" by Galactic, which was fun because I still just love the idea that it could be a middle finger to all of us trying to figure this story out when you got to show a song like "You Don't Know."
Yeah. Hey, I hate to do this to you, but one more thing.
Okay, Steve Jobs me. This better be good.
Okay,
it better be a new iPhone.
I just had the end of the show playing while we were wrapping it up, and
you're tuning me out.
No, it's just playing.
You're just like my wife.
Yeah, kind of. Well, it's your tone of voice that just kind of it hits that frequency, and it's invisible.
Well, she's way hotter than you, so whatever.
That's true. I cannot deny that. Outside of Gloria's home's door, did you see that little sign that's like a rake?
On to the right?
Yeah, and it says GYOW.
Does it? I almost stopped on it, but I didn't. I was looking at the wreath on the other side, and I was thinking about, well, it says grow, you doofus.
Does it? Or does it say GYOW, like go your own way? You can go your own way.
I fucking hate you.
Go your own way.
It's a rake. I can't believe we just stopped the show so I can tell you that rake says grow. It's just a terrible R.
It could be a terrible R, but what the hell does a rake have to do with growing, man? That's about death.
I don't know. Fine. I only noticed that we opened on a house, for the most part, that had a wreath in the middle of a window lit, and we're ending on a house with a wreath in the middle lit. I know that's just part of the season, but
I think it's an acronym for "Go Your Own Way."
I think it's bookends. I like your thing. I mean, if we stick to our
shitty R,
and it's really just a shitty R. If we stick to our schedule, next week, not this week, next week we will ask Maggie Phillips, the music supervisor for Fargo, when we interview her again, if she has any hot plans. Hot plans for a Fleetwood Mac song. We won't get real direct, Charpie. We'll just be like, hey, what are the chances you're going to throw some Fleetwood Mac in again? And then if there's no, you can go your own way, I'll call your theory bullshit.
Okay, fine. I think it's some brilliant foreshadowing.
It's just a terrible R.
Maybe it's go your own way, and it's not a rake, it's a broom that you fly on, and you can go anywhere you want.
Nope, it's Quidditch, and it's a connection to Harry Potter.
I guess we'll find out.
Expelliarmus. All right, so
Nepravda.
Hey, our thanks. Nepravda, exactly. Our thanks again to Fargo Brewing Company and their Wood Chipper India Pale Ale for sponsoring this season. Head to fargobrewing.com to learn more about them. If you're in the tri-state area, go out and get some and do that. If you're not in the tri-state area, get in touch with them. Buy some shirts because, hey, it's a conversation starter. It's the way to go. Plus, by supporting them, you're supporting us. So thank you so much. So, hey, Charpie, until next time, hot dish.
Okay, well, I'll see you later.
Okay, then. Bye.
Bye.